All right, so those were the things from the Food and Drug Administration. Now let's see what the Center for Disease Control and the Department of Human Health and Resources has to say. And now we're going here to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention to see what it is that they have to say about the data concerning the use of nicotine and tobacco products of adolescents and teens. And I really wanted to try and get this over a course of 10 years, something that got statistics from before e-liquids were around. And I don't think it does it, but it tries. Youth use of tobacco in any form is unsafe. Okay, obviously. Youth tobacco. If smoking continues at the current rate among youth in this country, 5.6 million of today's Americans younger than 18 will die early from smoking-related illness. You don't know that for sure. That is a speculation. I think that is a logical fallacy, and I don't think that belongs on the CDC. But anyway, let's continue. I really need to cut out that button anyways. That's about 1 of every 13 Americans aged 17 years or younger alive today. The background. Preventing tobacco use among youth is critical to ending the tobacco epidemic in the United States. And we're going to get to the supposed epidemic, too. Tobacco use is started and established primarily during adolescence. I think that's probably true. Nearly 9 out of 10 cigarette smokers, first tried smoking by age 18, and 98% of them first tried smoking by age 26. So you're saying that most people, the majority of people who are smokers, didn't start until they were 26 years old. And I love this cute little 9 out of 10. Each day in the United States, more than 3,200, what you know, the percentage of 9 out of 10, you know what that is? That's funny that they don't give you the percent, they just say 9 out of 10 here, but they give you a percentage here. I find that kind of funny. They could have easily given a percentage for 18 as well, but they didn't do that. Each day in the United States, more than 3,200 youth aged 18 years or younger smoke their first cigarette. An additional 2,100 youth and young adults become daily cigarette smokers. That's probably true, and it's probably not from advertising either. Flavorings in tobacco products can make them more appealing to youth. Really? I'm not so sure about that, but I guess we'll have to find out. Flavoring, I already read that. In 2014, 73% of high school students and 56% of middle school students who used tobacco products in the past 30 days reported using flavored tobacco products during that time. From 2011 to 2017, current cigarette smoking declined among middle and high school students. Listen to that. From 2011 to 2017, cigarette smoking has been in decline in middle and high school students. About 2 of every 100 middle school students, which is 2.1%, reported in 2017 that they smoked cigarettes in the past 30 days, a decrease from 4.3% in 2011. This is interesting, and you need to pay attention to these numbers and their decrease. Nearly 8 of every 100 high school students, which is 7.6%, reported in 2017 that they smoked cigarettes in the past 30 days, a decrease from 15.8% in 2011. Electronic cigarettes. Current use of electronic cigarettes increased among middle and high school students from 2011 to 2017. About 3 of every 100 middle school students, so that's 3.3% for 2017 for the e-liquids, okay? Cigarettes for 2011 was 7.6%, and cigarettes for 2017 was 2.1%. So this is only a tiny bit more than tobacco. All right, let's look at the 2011. The 2011 is 12 of every 100 high school students. Okay, we're looking at the high school students using e-cigarettes, is 11.7%. Well, back in 2011, the cigarettes was at 15.8%. But we're calling this, the e-cigarettes, an epidemic. This is interesting. But they're saying e-cigarettes, e-liquids is on the rise in compared to cigarette smoking. But if you look at e-liquid use or e-cigarette use compared to traditional tobacco use is still way fucking higher. So we go on. Hookahs. I don't imagine this is going to be 1 out of 100, 3 out of 100. 3 out of 100 in 2011, 4.1%. Where did we see the 4.1% before? That was the same. The amount of people, of high school students, that use hookahs is the same as the amount of middle school students that were using e-cigarettes. But that was 2011, and the e-cigarette one is 2017. Okay, I think we're done with the CDC. And now here we find ourselves at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the coup de grace, if you will. Adolescents and tobacco trends. This is the data I've been searching for. All right, approximately 4.7 million middle and high school students were current tobacco users in 2015, although tobacco use by adolescents has declined substantially in the last 40 years. In 2017, less than 1 in 25 high school seniors was a daily smoker. Substantial racial, ethnic, and regional differences in smoking rates exist. Among high school students, white teens are more likely to smoke than are their black or Hispanic peers. Smoking rates are typically higher in non-metropolitan areas and in the southern and midwestern regions of the country. Figure 1, 30-day prevalence of daily use of cigarettes by grade. This is dated from 1976 to 2015. Oh my God! Look at this. The rate of tobacco use, of cigarette use, in 1976 was at 30% amongst high school students. This is 12th grade, by the way. Okay, so this is all high school, except for the 8th grade. That's middle school in the United States. This has been in a decrease. It has went from 30%. And here, in 1990, we are at almost, what is that? 10, 11, 11 point something, 12%, maybe 11.5%, somewhere around there. And you have 8th graders at, roughly about 6.5%. You want to say, 1995, it's peaked, and I understand that. I lived in the 90s. I totally get it. But look here, all the way down to 2015, everything is substantially just reduced. Oh my God, look at the epidemic. Look at the epidemic of adolescents and teens and smoking trends. Just look at that, just crash. All right? Are we clear on this? The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and according to what the CDC has been saying, and what the FDA has yet to follow up on their current studies on e-liquids and e-cigarettes, according to the data, usage is going down, not up, even with the lovely flavors of e-liquids and e-cigarettes. And we have like a nice chart here that actually shows percentages. Here we down to 2015, 5.5%. Well, we'll just follow this timeline, and we go all the way up to 1976 is 28.8%. And it's just been in a continual downward spiral. So if we go to 1995, we see a small peak in the mid-90s. There is, I understand that, I get that. If you were alive in the 90s, like roughly around my age bracket, then you know why that is. It's just kind of a thing. Products used by adolescents include cigarettes, both store-bought and hand-rolled, cigars, pipes, hookahs, smokeless tobacco, and newer oral products such as e-cigarettes, pouches, lozenges, strips, and sticks. They are including all of this into their study. It is going down, not up, down. 5.5%, which is the same thing that the CDC reported. It is the same thing that the FDA has reported. That this is how many people, this percentage of this epidemic, including e-cigarettes and e-liquids, 5.5%. Well, I think it's even lower than that now. It was at, like 3%, wasn't it? 3%, 3 point something, almost 4%. Guess what? Even if we go back to the mid-90s, it was at a whopping 24.6% in 97. And now it's at 5.5%. And this is taking into account all forms of tobacco products. All right. I'm glad we went over this. Thank you, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This was highly informative and exactly what I was looking for, an exact chart of tobacco use over the years. Even without e-cigarettes back in the 70s, tobacco use was higher in the 70s, 80s, and 90s without e-cigarettes or e-liquids than today. Well, now after we've gone through all of that, let's take a look at the 3 arguments again. Hopefully they're showing up behind me. But 1, they are advertising to children via flavor, styles, and vape pens. Well, according to the CDC and according to the HHS and even the FDA's incomplete studies, the studies are focusing on Instagram follows. Not a single vape company is coming out and specifically advertising to teens and adolescents. I think the tobacco industry learned their lesson from that years ago. We're not doing that anymore. We've evolved beyond that. We understand. No, we don't. We're not trying to get people addicted to something. The FDA themselves still does not know, because the product is relatively new, all the negative and positive ramifications to vaping. They don't know, and we need to be comfortable in saying we don't know. So, are they advertising to children? No. Nobody is advertising vaping to children. Okay. Second one. They are worse for you than cigarettes. Well, according, again, to the HHS and CDC, as well as New York Times issue, which New York Times, thank you for the journalistic integrity that you showed on this, but I don't think that you got the FDA's perspective quite right. The FDA's perspective doesn't really have a lot, but the CDC and the HHS absolutely do. And are they worse for you than cigarettes? Well, I'm afraid to say that the studies they just haven't been around long enough to say yay or nay on that, but so far it's looking like the answer to that is no. Again, debunked, not real, fuck you. Third claim, there is an epidemic of nicotine products being used by kids. And what we really mean by kids is teens and adolescents via vape products. Well, as we learned from the HHS, and again the CDC, which even included traditional tobacco products as well as new ones such as this. The answer again to that is no, there's not an epidemic, and in fact we've been in a steady decline of teens and adolescents using nicotine and tobacco products, a steady decline from the 70s all the way to now, just down, 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 down. You saw a small spike in the mid-90s, but that's about it. And back to this advertising to children via flavors. Can I point something out? Alcohol has a variety of different flavors, even ones where you can't even taste the alcohol in it. Things like Smirnoff Twist. And that's not even something that's sold in a separate store. That's not behind the counter. That's behind a door of glass at any convenience store that you go to, where the kids can actually walk up to it and see watermelon, blueberry, cherry, grape, whatever flavor you so desire, and alcohol. But we're not talking about that. We aren't coming across and saying that adolescent and teen use of alcohol abuse is because they're advertising to children with flavors. That's bullshit. We're not doing it to alcohol. That's not the same thing that e-liquids and e-cigarettes are doing. Now, is it? Could it quite possibly be that this is just a normal rebellious phase of the teens and adolescent years? And there was another thing that I was going to bring up. The FDA seems to want to attack e-cigarettes and e-liquids and vaping. And I find that interesting, because even the CEO admits that there are 3 products that were passed through a legal loophole that shouldn't have been. 1, Bayer's E-Sure contraceptive. And there are tons of class action lawsuits against Bayer for this. 2, cobalt implants. Cobalt is poisonous. What the fuck were you thinking? Right now, there's a medical doctor that's going on speeches and seminars to try and educate people to stay away from cobalt, anything implants, because you will get cobalt poisoning. And 3, Johnson & Johnson's release of something called a mesh. It's caused a lot of harm and just ripped women's insides to pieces. I mean, it just kills it. I mean, you're talking about complete prolapsed vagina. The CEO of the FDA spoke out against this, but we're not attacking the things that we know to cause harm that are being used in the medical community. We're going to attack what? E-liquids, e-cigarettes, vape mods, and even the coils that have been taken off the market because they were showing that the metals they were made out of were causing harm. We're not using those anymore. We're attacking vape mods. When there are literally things in the medical community that the CEO himself said shouldn't have been passed. CEO of the FDA himself said so. Bayer's Esure contraceptive, Cobalt implants, and Johnson & Johnson mesh. So I will leave you with that thought. You can feel free to tweet at the CEO of the FDA. He's a public figure. Why the fuck not? Here should be a picture and his name. So you can tweet at him if you like. Because seriously, this is not an epidemic. I've proven that. The CDC is proof of that. The HHS is proof of that. And we can just use common sense to know that we can tell we can tell teens and adolescents till we're blue in the face, do not get addicted to nicotine products, and they say, fuck you, and they're going to do it anyway. When I started smoking at the age of 13 or 12, I don't remember, I started not because of peer pressure. I started because everyone told me not to do it. And so I thought, why am I not supposed to do it? So I decided to try it and see what all the fuss was about. And I liked it. And I got addicted and kept doing it. And part of me really doesn't care that it's damaging my body or that it was damaging my body. I don't really care. I didn't care at the time. Don't care now. I need to take personal responsibility for my actions and my choices. So when I woke up in the morning with the hacking and the wheezing and everything, if I wanted to quit, that choice was beholden to me and me alone. It's as simple as that, ladies and gentlemen. It's as simple as that. And the younger you are when you quit smoking, the better chances you are. I mean, your lungs start healing within 24 hours of quitting cigarettes. We don't yet know all the negative ramifications. There's not very many negative ramifications have been reported of vaping, and they've been minuscule at best. So we don't have a lot of information on that. But take some fucking personal responsibility and stop blaming the fucking manufacturers of this. We're not living in the 1950s anymore. There's a real issue out there of medical utensils being used that don't need to be used at all. And they got FDA pass because of a loophole. This is a regulated substance that only adults should be partaking. And all it is basically an electronic hookah. Seriously, I'm not even joking about that. This is an electronic hookah. Yep. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell button, all the funky things with the bell button. Make sure you kind of check on your subscriptions every once in a while. Somebody pointed out to me that they keep subscribing to my channel and hitting the bell button, but something always goes funky with it. That's because YouTube will randomly unsubscribe people. Remember that? Yeah. So you might want to pop in on your YouTube content creators that you enjoy so often. Pop in on them every once in a while. Make sure you haven't been unsubscribed. Make sure that YouTube isn't shadow banning you from videos that they're uploading that you don't know about. Sometimes they do that. I don't know. Social media's gone all wacky. They hate anybody that has an opinion that's different than theirs, even if it's not harmful. I'm advocating for liberties and freedom here as an anti-authoritarian leftist. And I think that if people want to vape, and especially that it's such a healthier alternative to cigarettes, Why are you going to make the flavors no flavor, which would just be awful? Menthol, which I hate menthol, and tobacco, which is one of the flavors one of the reasons I got away from cigarettes in the first place was that flavor. So what the fuck is wrong with you? Want people to go back to smoking cigarettes? Really? Come on. Wake up. But this, and I have to leave by saying this. CNN, I read your article, and you are a bunch of liars. You are full of shit, and you are not representing the FDA standpoint, nor the studies that they have on file, because they haven't even finished them. And the case study that they're doing to see if vape e-liquid stuff is advertising to teens is Instagram. Oh, I'm sorry, that angers me tremendously. And they use the word correlation, too. Yeah, let's not forget about that. So, I'll leave it with that, and like, share, subscribe, comment, bell button, all that funky stuff, and, out!